First thing to know when giving any presentation is that it doesn't matter whether you give a good presentation or a bad presentation. What really matters is that your audience understands what it is you're talking about, gets the points you're trying to put across. So, when preparing your presentation, give extra thought to being very clear about what it is you want them to know. Once you have that clarity, the next thing you want to do is practice saying it out loud. Don't practice memorizing it word for word. Instead, practice it in chunks. So think about it as, I want them to know this thing, and then I want them to know this thing, and then I want them to know this thing. Think about learning them in order of chunks like that, and then paraphrase those chunks. Say them in different ways. Once you've identified your chunks and you're able to paraphrase, the next thing to do is to practice it out of order. If you've ever practiced a musical instrument, you may remember that you didn't practice a piece from the very beginning to the very end and then back to the beginning and back to the end. You practiced until you reached a patch that you wanted to practice more, and then you played that over and over again. And then maybe you went back and practiced the beginning and you practiced the end. The same thing is true for your presentation. You want to practice it out of order in as many different ways as you can to get it in your body, to get it in your mind as deeply as possible. The next thing you'll want to do while practicing your presentation is figure out whether or not when you give it, you will be standing or sitting. If you'll be sitting during your presentation, then practice it sitting. But if you're going to be standing while giving your presentation, it helps an awful lot to practice while standing. Your body learns it in a certain way. If you learn it while sitting, it will feel different and a little scary when you do it while standing. If you rehearse it while standing, however, your body will learn it in that way. So think about how it is you're going to be giving it and practice it in that way. Another important point is to not worry about being the perfect presenter you have in your head. Be authentic, be yourself. If you've seen presenters that you thought were great, it's probably because they were just authentically them. You too should just be yourself as you're giving your message. Now imagine it's the night right before you give your presentation. What do? Go through your presentation one more time in your head and visualize yourself doing well. Then forget it. Do something else and relax. The same holds true for the next morning. Go through it one more time in the morning to make sure that you have convinced yourself that you know what's going on. Visualize yourself doing well, and then do something else to relax. When it's time to present, take a couple deep breaths. Refocus yourself physically and mentally. A couple tips when you stand in front of the room. Place your weight evenly distributed on your feet. Don't stand off to the left or off to the right. Evenly distributed with your knees slightly bent. And this is very important. Speak to the back of the room. Make sure the people in the back of the room can hear your message clearly. If you do that, the people in the front of the room will also be able to hear you. By speaking to the back of the room, you encompass the entire room with your message. The most important thing to keep in mind is that presenting is a skill. The more you do it, the better you'll get. Take your time, follow these tips, and over time you will get better and better and better.